recent development trends surrounding developments in cryptocurrencies and NFTs. That's the topic for today. Welcome to the Lawyers and Mediators International show and podcast by Instant Mediations, where we discuss law and conflict resolution topics to educate both professionals and everyday people. Hi, I'm Mac Pierre-Louis, attorney, mediator, and arbitrator working throughout Florida and Texas.
And I am Natalia, advocate, mediator, and arbitrator based in Warsaw, Poland.
And I'm Thomas Gaetano Giglione. I'm here in Hanoi, Vietnam. I'm originally from Toronto, Canada, a commercial mediator and arbitrator. I'd like to introduce my good friend and colleague. He's also in Hanoi, Vietnam. He's an international lawyer with expertise in the crypto world. He has offices in Saigon and also Singapore and in Europe. Federico Vasoli.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Thomas, or as I call you, Gaetano, by your
Yes.
Italian name. Thank you, everybody, for inviting me. Yes, my name is Federico Vasoli. I'm a lawyer in Italy, and I am the founding partner of my law firm, the MTV Global, with offices in Singapore, Malta, and Vietnam, as mentioned by Gaetano, Thomas. And yeah, we essentially do three things, pretty cool and pretty diverse. One is international contracts and foreign direct investments, especially in this part of the world. I have personally been working in the Far East for many years, starting in 2002. And the second thing is asset protection and international tax. And the third thing is digital tokens and cryptocurrencies. We have followed in a couple of years, approximately 60, 70, I would say now, projects in this field from a legal standpoint. So with a holistic approach that allows us and most importantly our clients to have a broader view and assistance over the tax matters, corporate matters, contractual, antitrust, and many more aspects surrounding the issuance of digital tokens.
Thank you, everybody, for this introduction and for those who are watching and listening to us. And let me just remind you that we will be happy if you check out this show and podcast on YouTube, Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, and on the Instant Mediations app. And please remember, nothing said on this show constitutes legal advice. So talk to a lawyer, as cases are fact dependent.
All right. So thanks so much for being here to discuss this topic. NFTs and cryptocurrencies, it's something, these are topics that are over a lot of people's heads. It's trending though, it's new, relatively new topic to be discussed around the world. But since you are an expert in this area, Federico, the first question goes to you. In terms of litigation, okay, and in the courtroom world, has the widespread use of digital tokens impacted litigation methods, particularly maybe the litigation methods that you use or litigation methods that you might see commonly that were traditionally used? Has a widespread use of digital tokens impacted them?
Quick answer is no. Elaborate answer is to a certain degree. And yes, there are trends I definitely see developments in this field for the future, especially when it comes to mediation, where Thomas is an expert. It has to do with the ontology of blockchain. Especially with the pandemic, this has seen an acceleration. I'm not saying anything new, but if you are in the US, in Poland, in Vietnam, elsewhere, fast, reliable, secure judicial instruments issued by any court that has, or alternative body like alternative dispute resolution bodies that has jurisdiction over the case, then adopting certain technologies could indeed be helpful. Imagine you issue a sentence in Houston, Texas, or in Florida, and you need to have it notarized in order to have it applicable, enforced in Vietnam, in Poland, or wherever else. If this instrument is issued on a blockchain, if you take advantage of the solutions offered by the technology, then it would perhaps, at least conceptually, easier to have it enforced. But no, as I said in the beginning of this answer, no, I do not see that much of an impact when it comes to the instruments and the technology, let alone the use of tokens, digital tokens or cryptocurrencies as a solution for dispute resolution. Of course, it could well be that somebody is are condemned to pay a certain amount of money because of a theft case or a fraud case related to cryptocurrencies, and then the equivalent amount of money in US dollars, euros, whatever, has to be paid. But that's a different point. So no, the quick answer, no, but there could be developments in the future.
Thank you so much for that. And let me ask Thomas now. In our previous podcasts, you had mentioned the niche market of mediating art disputes and that you are using the blockchain and NFTs for validating intellectual property and provenance. Can you explain in layman's terms, what are NFTs?
Okay, let me explain very briefly. NFT is a non-fungible token. It's basically, fungible means you can exchange it. Fungible means you exchange. So a Bitcoin you can exchange for another Bitcoin. And NFT is, you can't exchange one NFT with the other. They're not equal. So that's basically the difference. And NFTs can be attached to smart contracts, to digital. It could be music, it could be art, it could be a Twitter post, it could be, now I just read the other day, I was quite shocked by this. It's going to be, film has gone from celluloid to videos, to DVDs, to Blu-ray. And now in Canada, they're going to be launching an NFT movie. So basically, studios could put whatever price they want on a movie, and you could own it. You don't rent it and such. So there are a lot of different ways that it could be used. I was a big Star Trek fan when I was a kid. So if you can imagine when the Star Trek team went to another planet, they got digitized, right? So basically, that's what's happening with the world. We're digitizing the physical world to the digital world. And it's really revolutionizing everything about what we do, especially in the legal community. It will revolutionize everything. So I believe with anything new, it's very disruptive at the beginning, but once all the dust settles, it's going to be a very positive thing for everyone. Some people are saying that it's bigger than the internet. So it's a revolution that is really going to transform from here on. I guess that's basically, in a nutshell, what this technology is about.
Thank you, Thomas. And we needed that explanation just because for a lot of people out there who might be relatively new to it, they got to get it straight in their heads. But back to the courtroom, then, Federico, what are the most common reasons that you typically see litigation now because of these kind of things?
Well, the more this technology is adopted, the more we see litigation. Now, first of all, I'm not a litigator myself, so I see the first part of it. But being involved from the very first steps of these projects, I do see what could happen at a later stage. And generally, the cases are issues related to the issuance of the tokens. For instance, a token is issued at a certain value, then it depreciates for whatever reason, and purchasers of the token, at least the early ones, the early adopters or the early purchasers of this token, intend they start legal proceedings because they feel that they have been defrauded. There are even cases when the platform has not even been developed at all. So the general cases are fraud, misappropriation, sometimes even embezzlement, or non-performance of contractual obligations. And at times there are even class actions, especially in the US. This is what I see. So at the end of the day, the legal concepts are still the old ones. And it's fine, of course, because we have a new technology that fits into somehow the traditional legal terminology and legal instruments that we have available.
Thank you so much for that. So since you're an international lawyer and you see the international disputes and the crypto world is international in itself, can you please, having the expertise in that, Tell us, how do you decide jurisdiction in case you need to resolve a dispute?
That is a very good question. Generally, and certain scholars like Max Ganado, who is one of the leading experts in this industry from Malta. I had the pleasure of studying with him in Malta. They developed a theory according to which a distributed autonomous organization, by definition, has legal personality. Why? Because if it is autonomous and distributed, and decisions are taken beforehand by instructing smart contracts, then there is no director, there is no board of director, there is no one who's accountable. And more importantly, we lawyers try and see where the money could be. So imagine there is a platform that raises millions, tens of millions, like in the good old days of 2017, 18, something like that. And then something goes wrong. But imagine that the early investors started off with a company in Malta with 1,200 euros worth of share capital, or in Singapore with $1. How do you pay the damages that you have created? Okay, the company goes bust, it loses its dollar worth of capitalization, and that's it. Then you try and go after the individual shareholders and directors for personal liability in order to pierce the corporate veil. But it's of course extremely difficult. So there are some theories according to which DAOs, distributed autonomous organizations, have legal personalities, but it's not been recognized by judges yet. So the point is where the management is. It pretty much overlaps the same concepts that we have for taxation. So where is the administration? Where is the management of the company? Who is the brain behind the project? And then you go there. Then the other thing, sorry for taking long in answering this question, but the second important aspect is whether the structure is regulated or not. More and more, another trend is that more and more these technologies and instruments are being regulated. So if you're regulated, you need to have a body corporate somewhere, especially if you operate in highly regulated jurisdictions like Singapore and others. So eventually it goes against the initial enthusiasm that was all about disrupting the system, etc. Now you have digital token projects that are issued pretty much, that are carried out pretty much like you would carry out the banking activity or a traditional financial activity. And then you need to have sufficient capitalization, guarantees, blah, blah, blah. So essentially you would go either where the project is regulated or where the thinking brains are.
Thank you so much for that. Thomas, having heard what Federico said about jurisdiction, can you please tell us, back to NFTs, what are and what other applications of the NFT technology you see that would create new disputes or help resolve disputes in other industries?
Yeah, so thanks for that question. And just want to also just to mention that a lot of times we're trading, we're buying Bitcoin and such, and we're on these platforms, but we never read the fine print of the terms and conditions of the jurisdiction of where they are, and if there's dispute and where will be negotiated, what will they have arbitration, will they have that? So if you have one Bitcoin or one Ethereum, I spend 15 minutes reading the term and conditions of the platform that you're using. That's one thing I like to say. I think I mentioned in one of my original podcasts that we're in our second lockdown. This is a little bit more serious now in Hanoi. My first lockdown, our neighborhood was completely locked down, and I started venturing into art. And I talked a little bit in the last podcast about art and how you could basically make an NFT of art. But now I'm exploring this more and more, and I'm going down the rabbit hole, and I'm realizing, wow, the potential for this is just unbelievable. I'll give you an example. I have a friend in Hanoi, and he has a gallery, and the gallery is closed, and then he thought he's been fiddling around with making handmade chess pieces and chess boards. So and very nice, beautiful chess pieces. I think chess has become popular because Netflix. Netflix is popular because of COVID, and The Queen's Gambit. I don't know if you've seen that film about chess. Now, everybody wants a chessboard, and so he's doing these beautiful handmade little chess pieces, hand carved. And I said, I'll make a 3-dimensional NFT for you, right? And I did that for free. And basically what you can do is, if that NFT sells a certain price point, you include the whole chess set. They're doing this for wines now. There was a winery and also for single malt whiskeys, which is probably the best investment in the world right now, better than any stock. So basically, artists can basically put their art onto the bottle, and basically can make editions, limited editions of, let's say, that particular vintage of wine. The last podcast 2 weeks ago, I believe we were with Jeffrey Oresti, and he was involved with a little bit with the music and trying to get the young people from all over the world, Africa and all that, identity related to having NFTs related to their identity. So the musicians, they would have their music. Well, you could have an NFT nested with their music. So you could have an unknown artist with a very famous artist. They're displayed on OpenSea or any other platform, and could launch and could basically perform in that way. So the ramifications are just amazing as far as all the applications. And well, what's going to happen too, there's going to be a lot of disputes arising from all these different, copyright, IP, and jurisdiction, and all the rest of it. The good thing is we have now the Singapore Convention. So if we have a dispute cross-border, you have the New York Convention, and you have the Singapore Convention for mediation. So those are mechanisms for resolving disputes. So it's a very exciting time. And I really encourage anyone to really explore it. I don't own any Bitcoin, but I'm very, very interested in the applications, especially when it comes to the legal community.
Thank you, Thomas. So we're about to wrap things up. Just a couple minutes left. So last question to Federico. You can chime in too, Thomas. We've heard a lot about blockchain, Bitcoin, and cryptocurrencies. So to you, why is there so much controversy about them, especially by certain governments and by the legal community? Are they that much of a threat, or are they more of a panacea?
We would need another 5 podcasts to answer this question, but the quick answer is the quick answer is that it serves when it serves. That is, if you launch a cryptocurrency simply to raise capitals without giving value, there is no inherent value, sorry for repeating the word, in the project itself. So why would you launch it at all if not for raising cash, fiat? So that is something that doesn't work, and that is where the legislator is worried. And that happened a lot in 2016, 17, 18, 19. Probably still happens. When especially digital tokens, but also blockchains in general, solve existing issues, for instance, instant transactions. If I want to pay somebody outside of Vietnam on a foreign currency using a foreign currency, it's time consuming, and I spend a lot of money on bank commissions, exchange rate. I need to bring to the bank a lot of supporting documents, etc. If I send Bitcoins or any other, or in general any other cryptocurrency, it's immediate, it's fast, secure, and transaction costs are really low. So that is a solution to an existing problem. But there is an underlying problem, which is money laundering. So that's where legislators are worried. That is, where does that Bitcoin come from? How did you get it? Where from? Who was the initiator of that Bitcoin? Was it mined? Was it purchased through illegal means, etc.? So yes, when these projects give actual solutions, however, they may raise problems related to especially anti-money laundering, tax evasion, essentially these ones, and therefore they need to be regulated. But I think that they're here to stay because the technology is very useful until the new one, until the next big thing, of course.
Thomas, you want to add anything to that?
Yeah, this. I know Federico works in the decentralized finance area, and we hear that about money laundering and such. But what is the unit that is used for money laundering bigger than Bitcoin right now? Maybe by 1,000-fold. Do you know what it is?
No. What?
The U.S. dollar. Okay. So a lot of traditional institutions are really scared to death. The insurance companies, I think, are getting on board. We have the big five. They're all getting on board with blockchain solutions and things like that. But I think the traditional banks, they're scared to death. Governments are scared because information is power. Control of information is power, and they're all scared. So for me, is a lot of this is unregulated. It's kind of like the Wild West a little bit. But I think with some global treaties to circumvent some of these issues, I think it's a future. It's like people don't understand. It's something like you can't block the internet. Once the internet is out, yes, you've got the North Koreas and you've got those other countries that are blocking it, but there's always ways to circumvent it. So it's the cat is out of the bag. Okay. So as far as I'm concerned, and I think governments and traditional financial institutions are scared because we don't need them anymore.
Lost control.
Thank you so much for those valuable remarks, all of you. And thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Federico. Thank you, Mark. And to our listeners and viewers, please be sure to follow with everything we do on this podcast. I'm sure we will be touching on NFTs, cryptocurrency more, as it is the topic of interest to Thomas, definitely. And that would be it from us today in this recent international trends surrounding developments in cryptocurrencies and NFTs. In the series of current events in conflict resolutions with Thomas J. Giglione. And please be sure to follow us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Instant Mediations app. See you in the next episode.
Bye-bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you.